Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. Normally, we take these massive data sets, sprawling research papers, or just super lengthy articles and distill them down. But today, we're taking a slower, much more deliberate approach to dive into literally one of the most haunting micro-narratives ever written. We are going to look at just 19 words. That's it, 19 words that somehow managed to paint an entire devastating universe. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's take a look at the source text here. A lonely survivor wandering through abandoned cities after humanity mysteriously disappears. Now, I just want to let the stark reality of those exact 19 words sink in for a second. There is absolutely zero filler here. Every single word in this text is basically a load-bearing pillar holding up this massive sense of dread. It's incredibly brief for sure, but it is definitely not simple.
Section 1. The Ultimate Isolation.
Section 2. A lonely survivor. Let's kick off this intense anatomical deconstruction by isolating the core subject. Who exactly are we talking about here, and what's their current state of being? Well, the text opens with a lonely survivor wandering. And what's super interesting is how the true emotional weight of the word lonely shifts completely when there is absolutely no one left to compare it to. Usually loneliness is a feeling of lack, right? You're lonely because you know what it feels like to be included, to be surrounded by others. But when humanity is just gone, loneliness isn't just an emotion anymore. It basically becomes a physical law of the universe, kind of like gravity. And notice the action, wandering. They aren't traveling, they aren't marching or journeying towards some destination. Wandering implies a complete and total loss of purpose.
Let's actually examine that noun for a second. The standard, everyday definition of a survivor is a person who continues to function or prosper in spite of opposition, hardship, or setbacks. But when you apply this to our source text, it creates this fascinating friction. We really have to ask ourselves, what does it actually mean to survive when the rest of humanity is wiped out and your only action is just aimless wandering? Is simply continuing to breathe the exact same thing as surviving if there's literally no future to build toward? The text forces us to question if survivor is even the right word here. Honestly, remainder might be a whole lot more accurate.
This brings up a really jarring transition. By definition, we humans are deeply social creatures. Our language, our culture, our entire sense of self, it's all built on connection. In fact, psychological studies on extreme isolation show that without social interaction, the human brain literally begins to alter its physical structure in a matter of days. It actually shrinks the hippocampus, which governs things like memory and spatial awareness. So, stripped of society, this lonely survivor becomes this singular, isolated entity, physically and psychologically severed from the exact context that makes them human in the first place.
Moving right along to Section 3. The Abandoned Cities.
So the inherent contradiction of this text really lies in the environment. Think about it. A city is physical infrastructure built entirely to support the intangible features of people, noise, and just thriving life. But an abandoned city? It keeps all the physical stuff, the empty shells, the standing architecture, but entirely removes the intangible. The physical hubs of human connection remain perfectly intact, but the actual lifeblood is completely missing. And what you're left with is just this profound silence and a complete void.
Also, notice how the text specifically chooses the word cities, plural. It's not a cabin in the woods, it's not a remote desert. The deliberate choice to have them wandering through spaces designed for millions forces us to imagine this incredibly heavy, echoing silence. A city is essentially a monument to humanity's collective effort. So, to be the sole wandering observer in a place built for millions, that amplifies the isolation 1,000 times over. It serves as this constant, looming visual reminder of exactly what has been lost.
Which brings us to Section 4, the mysterious disappearance.
If we look at things chronologically, we really only have 3 distinct phases. Step 1, the past, where humanity exists. Step 3, the present, where our lone survivor wanders. But Step 2, that unknown moment in the middle, brings a massive, unexplained void right into focus. The text explicitly gives us an after, which guarantees there was a distinct before. But the transition between those two, it's a total blackout.
You know what's truly terrifying about this source text isn't what it tells us, it's what it actively refuses to tell us. There's absolutely no mention of a devastating global war. There are no apocalyptic zombies roaming the streets. There's no detailed natural disaster like a meteor strike or rapid climate collapse. It's just a sudden, mysterious disappearance. The The complete lack of answers here keeps us actively pondering the terrifying mystery of the event. It means our survivor has no closure, no enemy to fight against, and no massive disaster to clean up after. There's just an empty, inexplicable absence.
And finally, Section 5, what it means for us.
Okay, we really need to connect this back to you and explore why a single sentence about the end of the world commands our attention so powerfully. Ultimately, this micronarrative acts like a mirror. It reflects our deep, inherent reliance on community. We really only understand ourselves in relation to other people. It highlights the insane fragility of the systems we build because those massive cities mean absolutely nothing without the actual people to inhabit them. And most importantly, it forces us to confront the raw concept of ultimate solitude. If there's one thing you should take away from this explainer, it's this. We completely rely on one another to give our surroundings and our very lives actual meaning.
Which leads us straight to the ultimate question posed by our source material today. If you are entirely removed from the context of society, if there is literally no one left to speak to, no one left to share a memory with, and no purpose other than just aimlessly wandering through the husks of our past, if you are the absolute last human on Earth, are you actually still human at all? I'm going to leave you with that final thought drawn directly from the silence of those abandoned cities to ponder long after this explainer ends. Thanks so much for joining me.